Welcome to the third Saturday in October, your SEC Water Cooler podcast for the rest of us. As you know, you can find us online at thirdsaturdaynoctober.com, on social media at TSIO Pod. You can support the show by finding us on Venmo at TSIO Pod or going to buymeacoffee.com/TSIO Pod. It is a balmy 5 degrees outside, but I do have electricity. I do, for the moment, have internet. So things are okay here outside Nashville, Tennessee. Jared, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, and nothing heats things up quite like Dabo Sweeney getting mad at Pete Golding and airing that publicly, and then also Alabama playing a NBA G League player against Tennessee and coming up short. So yeah, there's lots to chat about today.
There's a lot to chat about, and for those who may not know the severity of what's happened in Nashville, there's a lot of people who moved to Nashville from the north who don't understand why people in Nashville freak out when there's snow. And Jared, I think you've been in the South long enough to kind of know how snow works in the South, but Nashville in particular sits right at the meeting of those cold Nordic Arctic streams and the warm air that comes up from the Gulf. What normally happens when we get snow in Nashville is it starts as rain, and as that rain moves in, the temperature drops, and it goes from rain to sleet to snow. And so what ends up happening is you have a layer of ice with snow on top. And people from the north are like, it's a little bit of snow. What's the big deal? It's like, no, this is ice. I know it's snowing, but it's ice. And it was actually the reverse this time. It started as snow, and then it became sleet, and then it became freezing rain. And so while it was very pretty for a little bit, then it all turned to ice. We've had exploding trees, which is a thing.
Yeah, I've never heard of that. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I'd heard about it a year or two ago when we had a bunch of ice. Quite a bit of down trees, and these trees get covered in ice. They get heavy, they get brittle, and then they fall on power lines.
Sometimes they fall on cars unless the car's just ahead of it. So
yes, a family friend made the news because his dash cam caught a tree falling in front of his vehicle.
You sent me this video and it blew my mind. I was like, oh my God.
It's scary. And then
it is scary.
And I'm taking I borrowed the ATV from my parents, and so I'm taking the boys around the neighborhood because they love going on rides, and I'm riding through the neighborhood where this video happened. But I'll try to remember to put a link in the show notes to this video. But I was like, oh man, that, like, if that falls on us, it's, this ATV has a roof, but it's not. It's not a cage like a car, and you can see what kind of damage it does to a car. But so we've got power. My next door neighbor, she's in her 80s, not so lucky. But we're checking on her all the time. She does have a generator and a gas fireplace, and we took a heated blanket over there. We asked if she wants to come stay with us. She said, "No, honey, I'm fine here. It's warm." So I'll be heading over to check on her, check on her generator in just an hour or two.
Wow!
To make sure that thing keeps going. But there's a lot happening. There were as many just in Nashville, in Davidson County, over 200,000 homes without power. This is yesterday. I don't know what that number is now. I know where where I am, that number's now under 4,000 homes, but there's still 4,000 homes like my neighbors without power, and because it's only affecting 5 houses, it's low on the priority list. So keep Nashville and kind of the Mid-South in your thoughts and prayers, as we're not expected to get above freezing by much or for very long. So we really need the sunshine to thaw this out. But
yes,
as you said, there are several sports topics that are keeping us occupied.
Just a few.
Let's run through some of these scores and hit some of these stories. Tuesday, Vanderbilt fell to Arkansas. Vanderbilt kind of in the middle of this slide. I mean, were they overranked? No, I think they just hit a tough spot in their schedule, and most teams are going to slip up a little bit. Arkansas handles them handily. I made sure to do that on purpose. 93-68. Florida beats LSU by 18. Again, Florida, they're figuring it out. Unfortunately, they figured it out against Tennessee and then just been on a roll. Georgia wins by 2 over Missouri. South Carolina beats Oklahoma by 9. And your Auburn Tigers beat Ole Miss by 12. The SEC, it is just wild this year. Wednesday, we had Kentucky over Texas by 5, and A&M beating Mississippi State by 20.
Yeah, I'm still trying to wrap my head around that.
Oh. Yeah. The Saturday matchups. This is fun. There was a lot of anticipation for several of these games. Vanderbilt breaks their streak by beating Mississippi State. Auburn wins in Florida for Jared's anniversary.
Yes.
Auburn beats the Florida Gators by 9. I know we were texting about this, about how you're trying to figure out, can tickets to this game be an anniversary present for your wife? And I think you can.
Let's just say it was not. Yeah. Yeah.
And probably best.
Yeah.
That it was that way. As you alluded to earlier, Alabama finds a loophole and brings back one of their players who's been playing in the G League this season.
Unbelievable.
And
I have issues with this. We'll get there.
Oh, yeah. Tennessee takes it personally and hangs on to win by 6. Arkansas beats LSU by 4. Texas beats Georgia. I thought this was going to be a better game, but Texas wins by 20.
Yes.
Kentucky beat Ole Miss by 9. A&M beats South Carolina by 23. And Missouri beats Oklahoma in a nail-biter in overtime by 1. So let's talk about this loophole real quick.
Yes, please.
So what's happened is, and I can't remember the guy's name because it's not easy for me to pronounce. Alabama has a player who did not use up all his eligibility. He decided to go into the draft. And he's been in the G League this year. And he petitioned for basically more college eligibility. It's like, well, I'm just stuck here in the G League. Let me go back and play college ball where I was probably making more money and getting talked about more. And I think at first it was denied, and then there was a restraining order, and so he's able to play. And I guess this is kind of like in pro sports when you're being suspended for something, and basically you say you appeal, and you get to play until your new hearing, which it's like, well, I don't know. I think it's kind of dumb, but that's where we are, and so it opens up a can of worms of, okay, G League, it's a developmental league, you're not getting paid as much. However, this guy was on a 2-way contract, and I'm not big on my NBA rules, but what I understand is a 2-way contract, you are getting paid more than just a regular contract in the G League, with the potential for quite a bit more than other players. I don't know where he fell on that scale, but he obviously thinks that he can come back to Alabama and probably make considerably more money.
I hate it.
And I'm you and I were texting about this a little bit too. Overseas professional leagues, how does that compare? Because they don't have the same basketball competition kind of leading up to college, all kind of that pipeline that leads to professional basketball here in the U.S. doesn't really exist elsewhere. I mean, I've heard a lot of different things thrown out there. If you're picked in the draft, you can't come back. I don't know if it's a pay threshold thing. I don't know. But this guy has kind of been like Carson Beck for the since March or April, just able to focus on nothing but basketball and not go to class, and that creates a competitive advantage. So I think I've kind of set the stage. Jared, what are some of your thoughts on this whole diabolical situation?
I think that if you sign with the G League, if you sign with NBA, if you get drafted and you sign with the NBA, even if it's G League, that's no longer allowed to play in college basketball. I don't feel like this is applicable to someone who's played overseas, because in a number of these countries, they don't have high school basketball like the U.S. So a club league that's paid is, like a developmental thing. I know there'd be some dispute on that, but that's how I feel about it. So I think if you've waived your eligibility for college basketball to go be drafted in the NBA, and you end up on a squad, whether it's the G League or above, you are in violation of all of a sudden being able to play college basketball in the NCAA. That's my opinion. That's how I feel about it. That's my understanding of the NCAA. Yeah. Who does not allow this guy to be eligible, but some, Alabama booster who's a judge decides it's okay. That's very sketchy to me. So anyway, it didn't matter against Tennessee, which I love that. I love that Tennessee didn't allow it to matter. But what happens when Alabama does get that eventual win over an SEC program? Then it and he played and he had substantial minutes or points or whatever. It's already a problem, but then it becomes even more a problem. I know if Auburn loses to them and he's played multiple minutes and he scored over 10 or whatever it is, I'm going to have an issue with it.
Oh yeah.
I already have an issue with it, so it's why are we here? Why are we doing this? Anyway.
Yeah. College basketball should not be a safety net.
No,
in that way,
absolutely not.
And yeah, one of my big problems is the NCAA has shot themselves in the foot by allowing themselves to move so slow on decisions with this stuff. And yeah, I mean, if they can't handle trying to figure all this out, then they just need to get out of the way.
Amen.
And
amen.
I feel like Greg Sankey, as commissioner of the SEC, could have easily stepped in and said, no. This is not how we're going to do this. Because I don't know that it really helps the conference overall. I mean, I guess because Alabama was ranked 17 going into this game, that maybe, maybe that's kind of why Sankey didn't do anything. Maybe he feels like it's not his arena to talk about it, but it affects SEC teams. We are in the middle of the SEC schedule, and I feel like, I truly believe Sankey's a pretty dang smart guy.
No, he is. Yeah, he is.
The way he's been calculated about how he brings teams in to the conference, how he goes about all these different rules and things. He should have more of a voice in how the SEC is going to conduct themselves. That's just my thought.
Well said. Yeah, we're in agreement.
So yeah. By the way, I hope you're watching SEC basketball because it's really good. I know several of these games were 20-point wins, but we've had a couple of really good overtime games here recently as well. Missouri and Oklahoma on Saturday. Tennessee's two overtime thriller against A&M was fantastic. There was another one recently, but I can't remember what it was. I'm trying to go back through all my scores. Ole Miss and Georgia. Ole Miss winning by 2 at Georgia about 2 weeks ago was really, really good as well. I was going to switch gears to something we've never talked about on this show, unless you've got some more basketball talk, Jared.
I mean, Auburn got a massive win over Florida in Gainesville. That was just unbelievable coaching by Stephen Pearl. Hat tip to him and Bruce Pearl, of course, for training his son to over the decade plus that they were at Auburn to get to that level of mastery.
Against a certain Florida team, might I add.
Yeah. Auburn, everyone assumed Auburn would lose that game, and I did too. So for them to go in and win, and not just win, but they actually won by 9 points. It was and Florida gave them their best. They came back. It could have very easily gone to Florida, and Auburn just stuck the dagger in them and played above their weight class, in my opinion, and really gave me encouragement because it's been a challenging year, and there's been some tough games, and to have one break our way and on the road and be as big time as that was an awesome thing. So as an Auburn basketball fan, man, just really enjoyed that game. My wife's a Gator, so that caused a little bit of a stir in the household, and yeah, I had to be careful with my when I'm watching a game and it's close and it's an Auburn game, I will have the tendency to project in my voice, and I can't control it. And so in that moment, playing the Gators, I had to be very careful with that, as you can imagine.
I bet,
but
yeah.
but anyway, like that. All that said, really proud of Auburn, and then. Can we talk football just very quickly?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I will say this. The portal is mostly finished for maybe a lot of schools, but I've seen a lot of. Even this weekend, just Tennessee. Oh yeah, we got this guy and we got this guy and we got like really good players. So congrats to Tennessee, and then Auburn. We had a couple in the transfer portal. We pulled in a former SEC tight end from Florida, and we retained a 5-star safety who was in the portal and got out of it. And then, of course, the joke we made earlier was about Ole Miss and Dabo Swinney. So, apparently the schools tamper all the time now, and it's okay, but Dabo is saying it's not okay. So part of me is proud of Dabo for calling it out, and then another part of me is like, what are the ramifications, if any, that will be applied to Ole Miss? Will Ole Miss suffer any problems from this, or will it just get swept under the rug? So we shall see.
I feel like Dabo, for the last, 4, 5, 6 years, will complain about something every offseason, and everybody else is kind of like, hey, either play by the new unspoken rules or go and get. I mean, he was outspoken against NIL and paying players. He was outspoken against the transfer portal and all that mess. And now, I mean, are you telling me, Dabo, that none of you or your staff or your players have reached out to other players in...
Yeah, how above reproach are you?
Ways
Yeah,
that could be tampering. I don't know. I think this is happening for, just like paying players, I think this is happening for a long time. It's we're talking about it more.
Yep.
By the way, Tennessee has been more active in the transfer portal this year.
Big time.
Our middle linebacker, Arian Carter, declared for the draft. I was surprised to learn just the other day he changed his mind. He's not going into the draft, and so it was actually not until after I heard where he was going to land that I started seeing these are the top 4 places for him to land. He ends up back at Tennessee, which I think is fantastic because we could use his presence in the middle. I don't know what it was that brought him back. Maybe it's Knowles. I had some conversations with him while they were in the building because Arian Carter's still working out there, I'm sure. But that was a huge, I guess you'd call it, transfer portal win, draft win for my Vols. And I saw that it looked like 100 kids are early enrollees, but a lot of early enrollees, meaning they're going to get in the weight room, they're going to start learning the playbook, and they're going to start working out with the team for spring practice here shortly. I guess graduating early wasn't as big of a deal when you and I were in high school. I don't remember as many kids graduating early, but that seems to be the trend for for top athletes these days. So, and that kind of leads me into my next topic, because a kid from my alma mater, Brentwood Academy, did graduate early. He took an exam, and then either later that day or the next day began his professional golf career.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible.
Blades Brown.
Love that name, by the way.
Right? Yep. If your name's Blades, you got to be good at something.
I'm not sure how the mother allowed the father to agree to that.
So I'll tell you.
Or how the father allowed the mother, or was able to get the mother to agree to that. Go ahead. Yeah. Let's hear it.
So, his mother, Rhonda Blades Brown. Rhonda Blades.
Oh, that's her maiden name.
Yes.
Interesting.
Was a star at Vanderbilt.
Which is also pretty awesome.
Yeah. She was a star at Vanderbilt on the basketball team, and then scored the first three-pointer in WNBA history.
Uh-huh.
She married Park Brown, who owns a tree service and landscaping company in Nashville. And my sister happens to basically run their office. Or she's in training to take over running the office. I've met her boss once or twice over the years, because he's a Brentwood Academy grad. His wife, Rhonda, was basketball coach for a long time. She still teaches at Brentwood Academy. And every year we would have a seniors versus faculty basketball game. Me being the, I'm really good down low in the post at 5'7". I sat that game out. I just cheered it on. I mean, she was lighting it up against guys who had pretty stellar high school careers, but there's a difference between someone who's played professionally and somebody who, made second team all district in high school, and is going on to be a college student in a field other than sports. But it was fantastic watching her play. So then Blades has been talked about for a while. He was winning state, I think, as a freshman. He may have won state as an 8th grader. I know he was playing on the high school golf team as an 8th grader. But he goes and plays in either Bermuda or the Bahamas. Plays in a tournament there, and then got a special invitation to play the Amex in where was it? Palm Springs, I think, in California. So he finishes his tournament out there in the Atlantic, hops on a private plane, which he'd won. I guess he'd won a private flight in a tournament last year, and he cashed it in for this. Flies across the country,
smart,
to play in a PGA Tour event. Ends up shooting. It was either a tie for the course record, or he was one shot off the course record. I believe it was his second round. He shot a 60, 12 under par. For much of the third day, I guess it was, he was tied for first with with Scheffler, who Scheffler ended up winning. Blades ended up dropping down to, I think, tied for 18th. Only a couple shots off the leader, but just was tearing it up against in the, I guess, his final day, he was in the same group as the number one player in the world, Scheffler. So a lot of Nashville was kind of cheering him on. He's got a pretty bright future. He just turned 18 not too long ago. So I don't think it'll be long before he's on the PGA Tour. He's currently, I can't remember the name of the tour. I'm not big into golf. I can swing a club. It's not a pretty sight, but I'll kind of keep up with Blades. And like you said, heck of a name. So fun little story this weekend as those who had power were watching golf. And then finally, we'll talk just briefly about baseball. I'm seeing a lot of reports about Tennessee baseball and their depth. They've got, I mean, Tennessee, it is, I'm not saying they're the Alabama of baseball, but when you've got these programs that are consistently putting together really good seasons, one after the other, you end up having a lot of turnover too. But the way that Tennessee was able to hold on to a lot of talent because they hired from within, and also just the way they've been able to recruit, been able to hit the portal, they have been able to build a heck of a roster. Right now they're sitting at preseason number 13, I think. But man, all these things that are coming across my feed, just talking about their depth, the potential for the pitching staff, I'm starting to get excited. We're only a couple weeks away from opening day in college baseball, and don't get my hopes up. But I'm starting to get excited. It's almost baseball season, so there's a lot going on in college sports. Between, like you said, the portal kind of winding down. We've got early enrollees who are getting started. We've got basketball in the middle of the conference schedule, and baseball is really only a few days away. There's a lot to be excited about. A lot to watch if you are iced in like some of us in Nashville.
It's so true. And yeah, man, if you can't enjoy this time watching some good SEC sports, then I don't know how to help you. So
right. By the way, games coming up tonight. We got Arkansas at Oklahoma, Missouri at Alabama, Kentucky at Vanderbilt. Wednesday, we've got Mississippi State at LSU, Tennessee at Georgia, Texas at Auburn, and Florida at South Carolina. And then Saturday, A&M at Georgia, Texas at Oklahoma, Mississippi State at Missouri, LSU at South Carolina, Kentucky at Arkansas. Ooh, always fun. Vanderbilt at Ole Miss, and Auburn at Tennessee. Tickets as low as $18. I don't know what you're doing, but
that is an easy yes.
By the way, we also have a game on Sunday. Alabama at Florida. That's going to be a good one.
I hope Florida takes out the full wrath of that Auburn loss on Alabama.
Bring it on.
Sounds harsh, but I mean it.
Yeah.
So,
Chris Murphy, kick rocks, man.
yeah, kick them and enjoy it.
Hey, kick them,
Yeah.
and I hope you trip.
I hope it hurts. I hope an icy tree falls on the Alabama basketball program. I don't want anybody to get hurt though. But
I do need to check in, make sure he and his family are safe and warm.
Good call.
Hey, you know where to find us.
Yes.
Online at ThirdSaturdayInOctober.com, on social media at TSIO Pod. Support the show. Share this with a friend who maybe likes golf and wants to hear about Blades Brown. Maybe with a lawyer who can help us figure out, is what Alabama's doing really legal? Share it with your kid who is just signing up for baseball and wants to follow a little Tennessee baseball, because it is the most entertaining baseball you will see, just from an emotional personality standpoint. It's a blast. You can also support us by finding us on Venmo at TSIO Pod or buymeacoffee.com/TSIO Pod. I am Bradley, saying heroes come in all sizes, and roll balls.
War Eagle, Bradley, stay.
Tailgate, man cave, living room, pre-K, burgers, ribs, chicken wings, Chippendale.